Howard Lindzan is the founder and general partner at Social Leverage. All opinions expressed by Howard and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Social Leverage or StockTwits. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for decisions. Guests may maintain positions in securities discussed in this podcast.
Hey everybody, Lindzanity. Welcome to my show. The guest tonight, again, trend that I love, comedy. My guest today is Claude Shires. He's got a great startup called Laugh Lounge, and he's been doing comedy for a long time, and he's going to share some stories. Welcome, Lindzanity.
Awesome. Good to be here.
You are going to be one of my first episodes. It could be 2 or 3.
Awesome.
I started with crypto, but right after crypto, there's nothing more. I'm never been more bullish on anything but comedy. I like laughing.
Awesome.
And I dream of one day being on stage doing stand-up comedy. I've done it when I was a kid, and you've done it. So introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Claude Shires. Nice to meet you guys. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm famous. I know you guys all know me. I'm huge in China, literally and figuratively. I started doing stand-up in I don't want to date myself, 1998. Working the door at the Comedy Store. Yes. And then I became a paid regular at the Comedy Store, and I guess 2000 through Mitzi Shore, that whole process. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was great because stand-up, like, I watched all my friends like at TV shows like Sebastian and other comics just blow up. And I'm
Comedy Store legend.
Comedy Store is the kind of mecca of stand-up. Yep. So I became a paid regular at the Comedy Store, and then what I found out kind of early on was the kind of money that I was making doing stand-up, I never needed to worry unless I wanted to buy something. Yeah. So I became a video editor, and I learned the entire kind of video editing pipeline, and really actually kind of fell in love with it. Like, I thought I loved stand-up, and I still do, but I just fell in love with video editing because there was like more money in it, right? Yeah. And then I could support myself, and then there was the creativity. There was kind of a different tree. It was like I didn't have to wait on lights, camera, audience, liquor, whatever. Yeah. So I could actually cut that stuff together. And interestingly enough, like, it's timing, right? Like, stand-up is timing, right? Yeah, exactly.
Amazon and...
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And then I basically, after I'd edited like I don't know, 30 comedy specials, I got a call from Amazon. And they were like, hey, do you feel like producing these live streams? You understand the video technology. Could you do a live stream? And I said, sure. And they said, you're comfortable doing the post? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you're comfortable producing? And I was like, sure. And they're like, how do you feel about directing? And I was like, sure. I literally talked my way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he just said yes. And I got the phone. And I was like, oh, shit, I got to figure this out. So I had been around the directors enough, like trucks and whatnot, so I could call it, but I basically hired everybody in the world to make me look good or prevent me from looking bad, however you would like to put it. And then after about 4 episodes of that show, I kind of had my, sea legs, so to speak. And then I took on the remaining 12 episodes for those series. And that's how I got my directing career going.
Yeah,
and
so now you have a resume. And where is comedy headed? So what's exciting about comedy? How big is comedy?
Comedy's booming. And I think it's like, well, obviously the advent of the internet and social media, and for people just to be able to find a comic and follow a comic, like social media around some of these comedians, 10, 15 million.
On YouTube.
On YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
But what's the biggest? Where are comics?
Mostly Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, Twitter.
But
well,
I find
Instagram.
A lot of them just aren't as good. Twitter's a different art. Wouldn't they want to be on YouTube?
It's just the followers there, and actually we're seeing a huge boom in comedy on Facebook. Like Facebook views, you can go out and get 4 or 5 million views overnight. Some of these comics like Country Wayne, just putting it up VOD, just basically posting.
How do
on
people
Facebook.
Find you?
They'll. I mean, they're fans most of the time. Like, you'll do a podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting because people don't. I think as a genre, people don't really follow comedy. They follow specific comedians. Mm-hmm. Like, you have your people that follow your Rogan or Anthony Jeselnik. Yeah. I mean, who are your favorites?
My favorites are old. So when I get down the rabbit hole on YouTube, it just somehow I start at like a closer look, and then I'll go to the Colbert monologue.
I love Colbert.
His monologue. And it's hit or miss, but it's good enough. Mm-hmm. And then I just go old Johnny. I can watch the same stuff over.
You love the classics.
I'm stuck on the classics, and my classics are different than, Gary Shandling.
I love Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
Dangerfield.
So I never got over into the new guys. Maniscalco.
Maniscalco's great.
Maniscalco's great. I don't love his new stuff, but his raw old stuff, like with some of the shit just when you can laugh by yourself or giggle by yourself. When I see my daughter Rachel with her iPad giggling at the office on the 10th time. Not the old office, but like Carell's office, which is actually better than the original office. And you kind of think that the English version copied the American version when I hear, because I try to get my daughter into the original one. I'm having some name recognition. Did you do the original one?
I do that. What, The Office?
Yeah. And but she just giggles over and over and over again. And so it's so personal comedy, and now there's so much of it that I've been fascinated by the industry, and not really wanting to be in the industry. But then I met you randomly. I think someone that worked for you sent me your pitch.
That's right. That was actually.
And I never open pitches that are sent to me by email, but I'm a sucker for comedy and I've lost some money in comedy deals.
I think that was your opening line to me, by the way. I walked in with this hat, and you go, "Hey, that's great. I love that logo. I lose money in comedy all the time." I was like, "Oh, what the okay."
So you're in LA, and I drove up to meet you with my daughter, and
That's right.
I love the idea. So let's talk a little bit about Laugh Lounge, but first let's maybe run the explainer video. So I know if you're not watching on video, you can go head over to YouTube and watch it on my blog. But let's run the explainer video of Laugh Lounge, because I think that hopefully does a great job. And then we'll.
And this is the artist-facing video, just for context.
Yeah, this is how artists.
Introducing Laugh Lounge, the best way to experience live comedy on your TV, tablet, or phone every night of the week. Laugh Lounge delivers live streaming comedy directly from comedy clubs across the country to your favorite device. This innovative new platform is already expanding audiences for artists and comedy clubs alike. Laugh Lounge was built by working comedians and production industry veterans to bring live streaming performances to comedy fans around the globe. We know firsthand the importance of reliable income for working artists. As a Laugh Lounge participating artist, you'll benefit in multiple ways. You'll receive a guaranteed minimum fee for your performance. You'll receive a share of Laugh Lounge's subscription revenue for the month in which your performance occurs. You can easily earn viewer-contributed tips with the Laugh Lounge digital tip jar. Each performance is hosted on the Laugh Lounge platform for 30 days, helping you to extend fan engagement and broaden your audience. In addition, your artist profile page makes it easy to connect with fans, arrange bookings, share a performance calendar, and announce ticket sales. The Comedian Dashboard feature allows you to quickly see total laughs, views, and earnings from across all of your videos. Today, Laugh Lounge stands at the intersection of 4 major growth markets: live comedy, subscription video on demand, video streaming, social engagement. Our mission is to ensure that artists and comedy clubs are at the forefront of that growth. Grow your fan base. Grow your income. Join the Laugh Lounge revolution today.
That was a $20 plug-in. No, I'm kidding.
So now that you've demoed, this is on the artist side. So is it kind of like Patreon for comedians?
That's funny because that was my old job, was a crowdfunding platform. It does have a little bit of that exact kind of feel to it, and it is similar. I would say Twitch, but Patreon, very similar.
So Twitch for comedy. So what was the motivation and what is the true vision around it?
The motivation for me was, that when I would drive from like San Diego to Los Angeles to perform for $15 or $50 or whatever it was, like obviously there was no internet back then, so now it's like we have a way to, if you will, remunerate the artist. There's opportunity to move the audience from the A column on the network side to the comedian column over here, and we do that through social media. So we basically will post across all the comedians' platforms and then share the subscription revenue with the artist. So the artists actually have something that comedians have really never had, which is residual income. So we share. We're going to do 5 shows. We basically do 5 comedians, 4 different cities, 20 comedians per month. We're basically going to own a night.
But you're curating the comedians. So you're still cherry picking.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all from within the community of comedians, right? Community of comedians.
Yes.
And so what we want to do is New York, Los Angeles, Austin, and San Francisco. Basically every Wednesday night or Thursday night, we're going to own a night of the week, and that's always going to be live stand-up. And so the reason to subscribe is if you miss that show, it'll be on for 30 days, so you'll never miss the artist that you want to see.
And so you have the marketplace problem. So talk about that.
So
because you got to get both sides.
So we're working with all the clubs, right, in the country. Those are our partners, right? And we're working with we cherry pick all the comedians, but we want to work with every comic.
Yeah.
And basically what we're going to do is we're going to use, I don't want to give away too much here, but we're basically going to be working with our partners to pull the customers out of the clubs, right?
Yeah.
And what we really want to do is solve an access problem, because there's great comedy markets like New York and Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Austin. But how do you get access to those markets if you're Iowa, Nebraska, Norway, you know? And what we're trying to do is basically open that channel up. So expand kind of beyond physical venue capacities. And then, you know, this is part of the cool thing about the technology is I can look at the back end map and see when somebody in Pakistan is watching something. You know what I mean? To see that comedy is truly global has just been kind of an inspiration that way.
And and you're in LA. And what is the comedy scene like in LA?
It's
you did
booming.
it for a long time.
I did it for a long time. I've been a paid regular at the Comedy Store since 2000, I guess. And yeah, I mean, comedy it's booming, and the Comedy Store specifically. If you haven't been to the Comedy Store, it's got 3 rooms in it.
You just took me. It was great.
It's a fantastic for the audience. There's a main room, which is about a 450 seat theater. The original room is about a 200 seat, 250. They pack them in like sardines. And then there's the belly room, which is a 99 seat theater. So it's kind of like comedy boot camp. When you're starting out, you work the door, you go there, you open the shows, and everybody recognizes you for checking their ID, so they give you no respect. You know what I mean?
They don't think you're a
nobody's
comic.
Exactly. And you have to go through that process, and then ultimately it just kind of peels the dignity out of you. So that's what I tell other entrepreneurs, by the way, when I'm pitching. I'm like, dude, I'm used to looking bad in front of 200 people at a time. 10 is nothing.
Yeah.
You know? So the comedy scene is booming, and I think what we're really seeing is that the younger comics aren't afraid to go out and just do their content online. They're not worried about losing their rights. They know they can get advertising money. You know, they basically know there's ways to monetize that content. The older generation of comedians, on the other hand, is like concerned about rights to lose, you know? So what we're saying is let's put the rights, and the monetization, and the content all in the same place.
So will new comedians get this or no?
Yeah, we actually want to break comics. That's part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So the ultimate goal of Laugh Lounge is to break comics. And
Break comics.
In a platform that's built for comics.
Yeah.
And where'd you come up with the name?
So, well, it's funny, you know, you go back and you look at your original idea, and the original idea was actually called Laugh Stream, right? And it's funny, I have that voicemail that I got from Seinfeld. That was actually the inspiration for the thing. So just to kind of jump around on this story, but basically I was working for Amazon, and I shouldn't say I was actually working for them. It was when I was off work for Amazon. So we did that show once a month, but and I had considered this idea of Laugh Stream, right?
Yeah.
And so we kicked it around a little bit, and would somebody grab me a water? I'm sorry, I'll continue this thing. But so I kicked around the idea of Laugh Stream, and I had basically thought of this idea of the map with the little dots on it.
Yeah.
But Laugh Stream there's no alliteration, you know? Yeah. And I wanted it to kind of have a feeling of like kind of Vegas-y or comedy roots.
Yes.
Thanks, man. And so Laugh Lounge, you know? And then we went through the logos, and I actually saved all of the original logo selections, and that one just popped out, you know?
Right. So you took the time.
Took the time. You got to do the right. You can't do, you know, and not to sound like a life coach, but, you know, there's just no shortcut.
And are you doing stand-up now?
You know what? Since I had my daughter, I've taken a break because, not just because I'm like a great dad and I got to do that, but it's hard to tell your wife you're going to be going out from 10 until 1 every night of the week when you have, you know what I mean?
Yes.
When you have a kid, so.
And so what is hot? What are the topics that are hot right now?
In stand-up?
Yeah, and some of the up-and-comers. Who are some of the up-and-comers that you think are interesting?
Well, I think what's hot in stand-up right now is vulnerability. Because if you look at some of the comedy specials that are coming out, Hannah Gadsby, I think, was the big one. People really buy into your personal story. And what's great about that is it's unhackable. Do you know what I mean? If I'm telling you something about my family that happened to me in a way that's funny and artful, you can't steal it.
Yeah.
So I think that you're seeing people really kind of buy in to this, you know, the artists that are willing to look bad in order to look good, so to speak.
And when I did stand, I was 18, so that was 34 years ago, and I was just beginning in Toronto and doing stand-up. What drove me nuts were the comics themselves, because it was a reflection on me. And I didn't think I was as fucked up as everybody else was. And so it was just really a messed up group of people. And I was young, so I didn't fit in right from the get-go, or at least
that only makes you a better comic
life
by not being able to fit in, by the way.
Yeah. Well, now it feels like, and you took me to the Comedy Store, that it still has the same vibe as it did 34 years ago.
It's a community of it's funny. People, there's this kind of thing that misery loves comedy, right? It's like the comics all are damaged. And I mean, of course, when we have suicides in the community and stuff like that, it kind of speaks to that. But I think it's, everybody kind of has their own thing, But like Rodney Dangerfield didn't start comedy till his late 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like where you get comfortable in your own skin. And I think the real art in stand-up is, how can I be this intimate with 200 people?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How can I tell a story that really reflects my point of view on something?
But no matter how good your story is in the wrong audience and they don't want to listen, you got to have a different material.
And
that's the problem.
Yes. And then you have to be willing to go into that knowing you're going to eat shit and just keep
or
it
change.
Yeah, or if you can comment on it, you can pull it around. The problem is that when you start performing and you become anxiety-ridden and nervous, the audience instantly switches from listening to your jokes to what the fuck what's going on with this guy?
I've seen the meltdowns. Well, have
you know what I mean?
Had a meltdown?
Oh God, yeah.
And is this a meltdown right here?
No. This is not a meltdown.
Okay, because I'm having one.
No.
So my next question, I got a million questions, but so with Laugh Lounge, like I said, I'm trying to help Laugh Lounge. You're raising a seed round. Okay, so we're not here. I don't know legally what I'm allowed to do here, but I don't even have StockTwits approval to do the ads. So let's go with it. I don't even know if I own my name. The question is, what's it been like as a comic? Because I know I'm in for $25K the first time I met you, and I'm like,
by the way,
I'm surprised we haven't raised all the money.
Yeah,
Well,
we got in. So
what is it about comedy that people just don't get?
Well, I think people love
it's a shitty
stand-up.
industry. There's private equity in the industry. There's no love. We're starting to see more shows, and I want to go through that. But like, what is the problem?
Well, no, I think comics are like they love to perform. Right, and they get people make specials around them, but the typical thing is you'll see a comic work 10 years to do an hour special, and they'll offer them $15,000 for it. Wow. And they're making a lot more than that, obviously, like on everything else. So again, what we're trying to do is to kind of remonetize and give the comedians the basically a portion of that same pie. Yeah. And by having kind of a platform of our own,
Well, my two big beefs are Netflix specials are too long.
Yes.
Because I don't think any comic can really, not that many,
can
go for an hour.
Yes. And
I want your best 10 minutes. And then when I go to YouTube, they put me down the goddamn rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole.
And I'm sick of Chappelle. If the algorithm worked, it would say, Lindsay's had enough Chappelle.
Right.
Let's serve up a non-black guy who like Spotify did with Discover.
Let's give him some Jeselnik already.
Give me some that I haven't fucking...
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do.
You're watching me all day. You're Google.
Yeah.
Tell me how to do something new. So I'm really... This is why I like Laugh Lounge. I'm really struggling as someone who wants fresh comedy.
That's exactly why we're here.
And the HBO Crashing show was phenomenal.
Exactly.
It was very dark. Some of the episodes were unwatchable. Judd Apatow seems to do every show ever made. Who's the comic in that again? Pete
Holmes.
Oh my God.
I edited his
Funny
comedy special.
Fucking guy.
Yeah.
The last episode of series, the last show with that, he got a break and he performed for the Good Looking or whatever his name, the supposedly nice guy. It was one of the most interesting, exciting. So if people can go watch that episode, and you don't even have to watch the whole series.
Yeah,
it is like made me feel good. It just brought everything together about a guy working hard. And have you performed at that show in New York? Have you performed at that?
At the venue, at the Cellar?
Yes. Have you performed at the Cellar?
Yes, the Cellar.
And is the roof that low?
It's low. The ceilings are low. It's uncomfortably low.
Is it scary?
Well, it's just you end up feeling like you're doing combat in a basement. You know what I mean?
But is it easier to do it in that environment or harder?
Well, actually, if the audience is attentive and again, if you have them on your side, then it's like dynamite in a small room, But because believe me, when you're performing in a theater of 1,200 and nobody's laughing, it's awfully quiet.
Yeah.
So it just depends. I think that if the audience buys into who you are, like Dave Chappelle is the master at that. I know,
everybody says it.
He's never had another job. Since he was 15 years old, he's been doing stand-up comedy. Yeah. He's never had driven a cab or
So what? People just trust him when he shows up, or he just is funny.
He's the master at being himself.
Yeah.
Chappelle, I saw him. He came in and did our show at the Comedy Store. We have a monthly show at the Comedy Store. And Chappelle came in one night and did an hour at the end of the show. Wow. Literally sat on stage, smoked a cigarette, and talked. He's like, I love nicotine more than my children. He's like... And,
but he can get away with almost anything.
Yeah. And actually, you're legally allowed to smoke on stage in California as a right to the artist.
In his
It's
Netflix
interesting.
special, I think he was vaping.
Yeah.
So, how many comics do you think perform high? I know Rogan's high.
Perform high?
Yes.
Gosh,
no.
most
Rogan's
of them,
high the
all
whole
of them.
show, right?
Yeah, I think the entire Comedy Store is actually just high most of the time. No, they well, I think it's interesting too because on the sidebar to that is that now with marijuana being legal, that people come in and they don't drink as much because they come in and they're all hopped up on
That's
the devil's
interesting.
cabbage. So.
Devil's cabbage. It is the devil, but you don't think? I don't think I could.
If you're performing high, to me, that's like the problem is you forget shit. Like I forget shit when I'm not high. So if I go
Yeah.
up there high, it's like you don't want to forget the
But I guess if
punchline.
you've been smoking your whole life, some people just are better with it. So
I guess.
God bless.
The thing is that when you're on the road, you'll do a show. I'll do like a 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. And in some of these places that are really trying to squeeze you, will give you a 7 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, and an 11 o'clock. So you might be on the 9 o'clock being like, did I did a joke at the 7 o'clock? Did I did a joke on already?
Do
Like,
you remember the best you've ever been?
for sure.
Okay.
Like,
So what city? Where were you?
no, it was here in LA. I mean, it was in LA for sure. Being at the Comedy Store and having like my wife and having my wife and everybody from acting class, like when I was 29 years old, and everybody came to the Comedy Store on a Friday night, and I was like, like just literally shitting in my pants to perform in front of these people. And Andrew Dice
Do
Clay.
you carry extra underwear on nights like that?
Yeah, we're double all the time.
Yeah.
And Andrew Dice Clay came in and bumped everybody
Oh,
and like
I
went up
remember
right.
this.
Oh my god, it was
Okay,
just
so
he bumps. Basically, what that means is like a big famous comic can come in and knock whatever comics off the lineup.
Right.
So he bumps the 3 comics that were before me and then does half an hour, walks half the audience, and then asks the piano player, he goes, hey, who's up next? And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to follow Andrew Dice Clay in front of my family.
Is this peak Andrew Dice?
This was like when he was in his low period, which is
Okay.
even worse. He was harder to Anyway, so he goes up and he goes to the piano player, he goes, who's next? And the piano goes, Claude Shires from La Jolla. You're going to love him. And he goes,
God.
do you know him? You hang out with him? And the piano player goes, no. And Dice was like, well, maybe this guy's great. Maybe he sucks ass. And he drops the microphone. So I had to walk and pick up the microphone. And I was like, hey, give it up for Dice. He was great like 20 years ago.
And
So everybody came
bought
around.
in.
And it was like, that was like the first time I was like, oh my God, I can fucking do this. Like,
And the whole set went well.
Yeah, the set went well. But if I hadn't called that out and like been willing to be an asshole, then. But Mitzi,
Well, that's what happened in the last episode of Crashing. He became an asshole.
Yeah.
To what the famous guy that he was performing for, and it was funny, and so the guy had to like him. And
that's the
then
thing.
everything
You
went
can
well.
buy their confidence back by being willing.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that they recognize. So
I think with the VCs, I think I get away with a lot of stuff in my industry because I just goof on them. And for some reason, I just did it in a way that they accepted it.
right.
And so I think I took a risk there. I don't know if I could do it on stage every night. Now, what's
Yes.
the most cringe-worthy where you just said, maybe I'll never do it again? Because everybody has cringe-worthy, and that's the name of your podcast,
Yes,
by the way.
yes. So, I mean, everybody loves a train wreck, right? Mm-hmm. So I did a show in Vegas for a bunch of car dealerships. Just a bad idea to begin with. And
Yeah.
these guys had booked me based on my
What
YouTube
kind of
set.
cars?
It was just like American cars, so nothing
you're
like, it
fucked.
was
Yeah.
exactly. I was fucked from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I get there, and so I do this joke in my act where I talk about like my wife is always. She's like, you should get out of your comfort zone and just do something different. Like, get a manicure and a pedicure and a facial. And I was like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna get. The meaning facial has a totally different meaning to guys than it does to girls.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe you get out of your comfort zone once in a while. And anyway, so they booked me on this act from YouTube, right? So I go up on stage, and these guys have been drinking since 4 o'clock. So I go up at 9 o'clock, no introduction. The guy was like, oh, we have a comedian, and it's like trying to perform in C Block. So I go up there. And I do this, I start doing my act, and they're just like, the people are heckling and throwing stuff, and I'm the opening act.
Yeah,
so I
it's not
literally
gonna get better.
So it's not going to get any better. And so I go up, and I start doing my jokes, and I do that one specific joke, and I see this guy get up and grab his daughter's hand and like walk out. I was like, I didn't even know who that guy was. And they're like, oh, that guy owns the dealership. So it was like basically the hook came out at that point. You know what I mean? And I was like, hey, you guys have been. I didn't even get to say good night. And they were like, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and close the show down for everybody. And so I was like, well, glad we got our check before we started. So
that's the reality of comedy. So with Laugh Lounge, I think you're taking they're in their native environment. They're at the comedy club. The cameras are there anyways, And do you edit their bits, or is it fully?
So no, we basically we're live. The show
Yeah.
goes live, and then every night of every Laugh Lounge show that we have, like the night of the week that would be live, and then we would do a cut down of that show that would go up the next night.
Right.
So and that's what would stay up for 30 days.
And who inspired you quickly in comedy?
George Carlin, Robin Williams, Stephen Wright.
Did you get to
Mike
meet-
O'Connell?
Did you get to meet most of them?
Robin Williams, yeah, I got to meet him.
And was he
Amazing.
nice?
Yeah. Jim Carrey, amazing.
Amazing. That's who I started when in Toronto. That's who I used to watch, and Mike Myers as well.
Yeah,
who
Mike
is a
Myers,
legend.
fantastic.
He's a legend. So, well, good luck with Laugh Lounge.
Thank you.
To leave, I want to run one of the ads because they're funny.
Yeah.
It's fun. You're having fun. This ad
Yes.
got pulled from Facebook. Why?
Yeah, well, no. So we
didn't
actually
kill
were running
somebody?
No, I think it was because it had it was comedy, but it had a gun in it. So it was like, the
Doesn't
the
all comedy
object
have a gun in
recognition
it?
technology is just off the
So
hook
we're
now.
going to run this ad, which is kind of your brand. It's a little dark.
Yeah.
Hey, what you up to tonight? We'll be your friends. We're cool.
Yeah, we are cool. Yeah, you guys seem cool.
Come on. I like this guy.
Don't hang with the wrong crowd. Come hang out at Laugh Lounge, where you can watch live stand-up comedy on demand 7 nights a week. Laugh Lounge, where comedy is your friend.
Deer Hunter comedy. Come on, who doesn't love that?
Well, most millennials have never heard of it.
I know, Deer Hunter.
So he's a comic that's
Yes,
blowing up.
yes, he's blowing up. Exactly. So that's part of what we're doing now is this, yeah.
So part of what you do is also get to now be a producer.
Producer,
or
direct
cherry-pick.
stand-up comedy specials, exactly. And because we're kind of within the comedy community, we have good insights into who's really about to blow up, and what comics do the comics like.
Yeah, what comics do the comics like is a great thing. And well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming into town. Is there any questions from the audience quickly, Ryan? All right. So with the $2 million that you raised, what are you going to try and build out?
We are building out our marketing campaign. We're basically planning to launch at Montreal with version 2 of the application.
Okay. Montreal is a huge festival.
Montreal, the JFL festival. It's the most fun you can have as an adult, by the way. I didn't realize that bars could stay open that late.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most fun. And we're going to launch there, do some shows there, and of course, we're going to be doing the Cringeworthy podcast from there. So
Yeah, I love the cringe. How can I find the cringe? Just everywhere?
So you can actually see it on Laugh Lounge. We'll be putting it up on our Facebook page.
It's a good idea.
Thank you. I
People
think everybody
like
loves a train wreck.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. All right, everybody. So thanks for coming to Lindzanity.
Awesome.
All right.